and handkerchiefs and shoes. And
when you pass through the gates of heaven, that's the first thing they'll hand out to you is a pair of twill underwear.
Oh, my God.
So when your mom is back talking to
Jesus.
you, put it on your birthday list.
Yeah, no. Definitely not.
They are awesome.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
You have a question?
I do.
Yeah.
Let me think about it. What was I going to ask?
Ask him, why is he turning red? That's a good question.
Yeah. What was that?
No, go ahead.
No, you read? Looking in your crystal ball for this year, not really a Wild-related question, what team do you see moving up a lot, and what team that was successful last year do you see taking a step back?
Well, I mean, St. Louis, I don't see how they missed the playoffs. I was talking to somebody about this today. I mean, it's just, they went out this summer and they made a bunch of – they addressed their center deficiency by getting Bozak and O'Reilly. They had David Perron. The one question mark they still have is obviously with Jake Allen. But all Wild fans know that, there is a better Jake Allen there that probably was untapped last year as well. So I see them moving up. I see Arizona and Calgary, at least on paper, improving. And that's the scary thing. I mean, even like Dallas, how do they not get better? So that's the scary thing if you're Minnesota. But the good news with the Wild, as I've said all along, is that this is a team with a lot of good players that have made the playoffs 6 years in a row, that know how to make the playoffs, and that type of experience is extremely valuable. And if all of a sudden Parise starts the way that he finishes, and Coyle and Niederreiter have bounce back years, and Stahl and Zucker can continue what they did last year, this team should be okay this season. And that Suter is actually, I think he'll be playing, but is he the same Ryan Suter as he was before? That's the big question. In terms of taking a step back, I don't think Vegas is just going to drop out of the playoffs. Let's put it that way. I think San Jose got better. Chicago, who didn't make the playoffs, you got to think they're going to be better if Crawford's healthy. So it's not, man, as usual, the West, it just looks daunting. And that's the scary thing. Like, say St. Louis gets in, somebody's coming out, right, of the top 8. So who's it going to be? I don't think it's going to be Winnipeg. I don't think it's going to be Nashville. So is it Minnesota?
Michael Russo predicting the Wild will miss the playoffs this year. You heard it here first.
That's not what I said.
I've been listening to the last bunch of podcasts, and I'm in the depths of hell right now as an Orioles fan, so I'm really looking forward to a new sport. And you got me optimistic about the Wild when you're talking about the job.
Which show was that?
Last year. That was the last couple one.
I've been trying to calm Wild fans down.
See, and I'm feeling a little bit optimistic.
But Philip put me in a mood to start the show. So.
Thank you, Bert. We appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Let's put it this way. The start to the show will not be like the Fox Sports North Town Hall tomorrow. Let's put it that way.
Do we want to do our Anthony LaPanta impersonation right now?
No.
How many Stanley Cups are they going to win in a row?
Yeah. What was that, your Sid/Anthony LaPanta?
That's my problem is all of my impressions sound like either Sid Hartman or Brett Favre. So when I try to do LaPanta, I do a little bit of Sid, and it really ruins the whole thing. I apologize. Let's thank Whizkids.tech. Minneapolis company, Michael Fannert, has jumped on board as a sponsor for several programs. They have the Service Now Help Desk with Heart. Tech support is an option. It also doesn't have to be painful. So if you have a business and you need help with the cloud, with managed IT, with all the other stuff that most business owners can't handle themselves, try Whizkids.tech. Also, this show and the Viking show are pretty close to being sold out as far as ads. If you want in, I would get in soon. Email me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. We also have a wide variety of shows that need sponsors. You can get it at different price points depending on the show. But if you want to be on the Viking or the Wild show, I would get in quickly. So, again, check out Whizkids, WHIZKIDS.tech.
Hello, Minnesota sports fans. This is Michael Fannert, founder and CEO of Whizkids. Whizkids is a Minneapolis-based managed IT, hosted VoIP, and cloud services provider. Businesses today require fast response times, skilled support staff, clear communication, and technology recommendations that align with their business goals. At Whizkids, we do this each and every day with our clients. When you call into our help desk for support or work with one of our higher-level engineers on a complex issue, you'll find our staff personable and ready to roll up their sleeves to help you solve your technology problems. Reach out to Whizkids today to find out how we can help your business meet your technology goals. Visit us online at Whizkids.tech. That's Whizkids.tech. Whizkids, make it happen.
Alec, fire away.
A couple of years ago, I went to the Stadium Series extravaganza.
John Churchetti's first game.
We have been begging for a game like that, and now Chicago has been getting the praise for that. Do you see another one coming?
Well, I mean, I think what all Wild fans wants is the actual Winter Classic, and NBC controls that. I mean, that's the funniest thing. They take all these games from Fox Sports North every single year because they love the local ratings, and that's what NBC Sports Network gets paid on. But nationally, they feel like the Wild don't draw, so they just keep on giving it to the same team over and over again. And here, Chicago is one of the worst teams in the league last year. So I don't see it changing. I really don't. Now, the Wild did years ago have a chance to be the road team in a Winter Classic. And I think that Craig Leopold was sort of insulted by that because it was told to him that, no, you're not hosting, but you could be the road team. And he said no because he was insulted. And I think he probably regrets that. But look, I mean, he wants to bring a Winter Classic to this market that absolutely deserves it. But unfortunately, NBC does control that decision. I mean, the NHL looks like the bad guy when it's continuing, but it's NBC that has a huge say in the teams that are in it every single year. And it's a shame. I mean, it sucks, but I don't see it changing because the Wild, when they were told to get better and more appealing, and they did that. I mean, they added the Suitors and the Parisis. They added all the young talent that Philip loves. They added a team that is a perennial winner. I mean, they've made again. I know it's become overused, but they've made the playoffs 6 years in a row. So they've become more marketable. They've become more exciting. They've become more American. They've become a winner, and it still seems to not do anything for NBC. So I don't see it. I really don't see it changing. Now maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Craig Leopold can work that out in the new CBA, although he's not even going to be allowed near the negotiating process after his a couple of his meltdowns in the first one. And the second one, the 2012-13 one, where you remember that, Vicky? You're looking at me with your mouth ajar. Remember he got into it with I wrote all about this. He got into it with the Columbus Blue Jackets defenseman that is now escaping my name, and he was a guy that never played another game after the lockout. He was essentially blackballed. He was like the leader of what was the guy's name? And they were in a negotiate in November. They were in a negotiating meeting in New York, and the guy said something really outrageous to Leopold, and Leopold lost his mind and went crazy on the guy. Yelled at him as the meeting broke up, and Leopold, that was it. And I cannot remember the defenseman's name. What was his name? It's like coming out of my. I mean, again, he was such a staunch player guy that he never played another game in the NHL. And I cannot remember his name.
It'll come to you as we go forward. Hey, we are live at Dulono's Pizza. It's 118 North 4th Street. That's 4th with a numeral 4, downtown Minneapolis. It's right by parking. It's right by Target Field, right by Target Center. Ramp C. They also have a huge parking lot adjacent to Dulono's that I park in. There's usually street parking out front, too. So it's an easy place to have access to. We will be doing 2 shows a month here. Follow us on social media to find out the dates of those shows. A lot of regulars here tonight. We had a huge crowd the first time we did a show here, and as we get closer to hockey season, we expect to build it back up. We might even have some special guests drop by. Dulono's also has a location in Woodbury, which means that they have a huge, between the 2 stores, they have a huge delivery area pretty much all over the Twin Cities. So they have lunch specials, lunch buffets that Michael takes advantage of, a great happy hour, bubble hockey, jukebox, trivia, all kinds of stuff going on. And they have a lot of space, a lot of big screen TVs, great place to hang out. Anybody else going to take the live mic, or should I ask Michael a Twitter question? Or is there something else you want to get to right now, Michael?
No, I just can't figure out this player, and it's driving me crazy. Maybe it wasn't Blue Jackets, but I'm almost positive.
Josh on Twitter wants to know if you're going on any more vacations.
No, I am going out of town to just see my family on next week.
Is your mother going to actually speak to you?
She will.
Okay, that's good.
God.
From Aaron Berger, old friend. Looks like the ECHL affiliation changed again. Any reason for it, and should we even care?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a one-year thing, that they continue to it always changes. I mean, very few teams go into multi-year deals, although I just saw somebody just did. But it made sense because it was right in their backyard.
Okay.
But
we have a relationship question from Alex on Twitter.
What?
Would you ever be with someone that works as much as you?
Maybe. That would probably be the only way it'd work.
Okay, that was a good firm maybe.
I'm really struggling.
While you struggle with that, we're going to have Russo's Filter / Ferocious Yorkie take the mic, and we're going to chat with him for a second. I do want to thank FixologyRepair.com. John Hedges has been sponsoring this program for a long time. He usually shows up for the shows. He was busy tonight. He's also going to start sponsoring our Viking show, the Viking Update Show, which we also do live at Mississippi Pub if anybody's interested in Viking stuff or chatting with Tim Yoder, who's been covering the Vikings almost as long as I have, which is 28 years. So thanks to FixologyRepair.com, locations 3rd floor of the Mall of America by Nordstrom's and downtown Minneapolis, just south of the Wells Fargo Center across from Dunn Brothers.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at FixologyRepair.com or at FixologyMN on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
All right, Mr. Which moniker would you prefer at this point, sir?
I like the Yorkie one.
Ferocious Yorkie is with us.
Works. It's August.
No. Ferocious Yorkie is with us, and while Michael pretends to do research, let's ask him another question that gets him heated up. Let's go.
Here's my theory for the Wild for this season, Mike, and you tell me whether or not there's any merit to it. But I think the Wild, from a we're talking about no superstars and lack of high-end talent. We've talked about that for years and years and years. I think it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if the Wild ended up having the type of season that the Twins are having this season, albeit hopefully not from suspension, but from injuries and falling apart, and then getting an opportunity to trade up for draft picks and sell guys off for draft picks, free agents, and things like that. Obviously, given what Leopold says in the news, you can't go into a season hoping you don't do well. So to have one organically happen where a season sort of falls apart because of injuries or whatever, is that the most expeditious way to getting a couple of maybe top-end skill players to the draft or that kind of thing?
Well, I mean, look, it's funny. I mean, Jim and I, years ago, when we first started the podcast, we used to say that, this team needed to sort of get one of those elite cornerstone guys. I will say again, the new rules in the NHL, even if you finish rock bottom, you're not going to wind up necessarily with Hughes in next year's draft. But there are, there are teams that just, bad luck themselves into. Look at Toronto a couple years ago. I mean, they absolutely tanked to get Austin Matthews. There's no doubt about it. Buffalo that year tried to as well, and they that one year that they ended up with Eichel. And Tim Murray had a meltdown, technically, that he didn't get him, and Eichel's still a pretty decent player. But to get to your point, I mean, you say a couple guys. I mean, unless you're trading for a first-round pick, you're just going to wind up in the top of the draft. So, but I've always said that this team, one of their issues is that they've perennially been in that, one playoff win the last 2 years have gotten them the 20th pick or the 22nd pick in each of the drafts. And then, you take the safe pick in Eriksson Ek over, say, a Besser, things like that. So even when they have a chance to get a potential stud, they seem to figure out a way not to do it. And that's just my opinion. And I think Eriksson Ek is going to be a great player. I really do. But, right now, I think that a team that doesn't have the elite goal scorers in the system, to not take a guy like that is going to be harmful for the future. So, I mean, again, I don't think that any first of all, I will tell you, I mean, if they fall apart this year, probably Bruce Boudreau is coaching his last season. So the goal here is to figure out a way to take this. They've made their bed. They're not going to, even if they miss it this year, they're not going to all of a sudden go into like a